Okay, so our first subject for today is molecular biology. So molecular biology, this is 6%, no? 6% if you are to base on the ASEPI table of specifications. And I really believe na yung exam ng ASEP, it is well distributed. No, during my examination, nakikita ko talaga that they are really following their table of specifications. Still, syempre, majority of the questions will be coming from blood banking, hematology, clinical chemistry, and microbiology and parasitology kasi yun yung mga major subjects. Ito, molecular biology, laboratory operations, immunology, serology, hemostasis, tsaka clinical microscopy. These are the minor subjects for the ASEP exam. Okay? So first things first, may mga certain I have certain terms lang and concepts na kailangang i-add. I haven't included this in the notes. These are basic concepts with regards to molecular biology. Kindly write them down lang before we go sa ating notes proper. Okay, so first, let's review the structure of our DNA. Okay, of course. So there are three components for the structure of the DNA. First, of course, yung mga tinatawag natin na nitrogenous bases. Okay, so our nitrogenous bases, we have two groups for this. We have our purines, okay, and we have pyrimidines. Okay, purines and pyrimidines. So the difference between the two is the presence of the ring. Okay, kasi for the purines, they have a double ring structure. Okay. Whereas for pyrimidines, they only have a single ring structure. Okay. So there are two purines that can be found both sa ating DNA tsaka sa ating RNA. These are adenine and guanine. Okay. So yung dalawang purines natin are adenine, okay, and guanine. Then we have three pyrimidines. Okay, those are uracil, okay, uracil, thymine, and cytosine. Okay, but of course, we have to emphasize that uracil can only be found sa ating RNA molecule. So yung RNA, wala siyang thymine. Instead of having thymine, it has uracil. Okay, so yan yung mga nitrogenous bases. Now, when these nitrogenous bases are attached sa sugar, yan na yung tinatawag natin, guys, na nucleosides. Okay, we refer them as nucleosides. Okay, so nucleosides, again, are nitrogenous base. So basically, these are the base, okay, the base plus the sugar. Okay, so alam naman natin na yung sugar natin for our DNA and RNA, ano siya, pentose. Ibig sabihin, it has 5 carbon atoms. Okay, specifically, tawag natin sa sugar for RNA, that is ribose. Okay, and for DNA, that is deoxyribose. Okay, so nucleoside. Take note of that. Nucleoside for base tsaka sugar. Okay, and finally, yung tinatawag natin na nucleotides. Okay, so yung nucleotides naman, yung kanyang component, that is the base, okay, the sugar, tsaka yung phosphate group. Okay, the base, the sugar, and the phosphate group. And of course, yung ating DNA structure, basically, yung DNA tsaka yung RNA structure, that's basically a chain, a chain of nucleotides. Okay? So basic lang yan, Now, itong chain of nucleotides, they are being joined together. If we are referring to a single chain only of DNA, that they are being joined together by what we call the phosphodiester bonds. So that depiction, that depiction of the connection of nucleotides through the phosphodiester bonds, that is referred to as the primary structure of the DNA. Okay, so ngayon punta naman tayo no, sa structure. Okay, structure ng DNA. Okay, so first, meron tayong tinatawag na primary structure. Again, as I have mentioned, this depicts, okay, nucleotide, a nucleotide sequence, okay, connected by phosphodiester bonds. So ibig sabihin no, in a single chain no, in a single chain of DNA, for example, so it's a series of nucleotides and they are attached together by phosphodiester bonds. And it's important no kung paano yung attachment ng phosphodiester bonds na ito. So this attachment, take note, very important. The attachment of these phosphodiester bonds is from 5' triphosphate, okay, the 5' triphosphate of the first nucleotide attached, okay, to the 3' hydroxyl group of the next, okay, hydroxyl group of the next nucleotide. That's why meron tayong 5' to 3' na configuration, okay? So yung nauunang yung attachment ng phosphodiester bonds, yung connection niya is between the triphosphate, specifically at the 5' triphosphate of the first, no, or the preceding nucleotide attached to the 3' hydroxyl group, okay, of the next nucleotide. Okay? So yan yung primary structure, okay, ng ating DNA. So it's a single chain pa lang. Now, when complementary base pairing is already happening, okay? When we say complementary base pairing, ito yung partnership, no? Yung pagpe-pair ng adenine tsaka thymine, tas cytosine tsaka guanine. That will now create no, the secondary structure, okay, of the DNA. So basically, this is happening through, okay, through the formation of hydrogen bonding. Okay, through the formation of hydrogen bonding between complementary bases. Okay, between complementary bases. So that is basically, no, this will result no, to the formation of a double, okay, stranded DNA structure. So dalawa na siya. Kasi basically, ito kanina, no, let me emphasize it again. Ito kanina, for example, this is the first nucleotide, this is the second nucleotide. Ito, no, this yellow line, yan yung phosphodiester bond, basically. Now, when the secondary structure will be formed, this is the nucleotides, no, from the series of nucleotides in one primary structure. They will be complementarily paired, no, with the nucleotides on another chain, okay, of DNA. So between them are hydrogen bonds. Yan. So these are hydrogen bonds. So meron dalawa, merong tatlong hydrogen bonds. That depends on the nature of the bases present. Okay? So we have to take note that between adenine and thymine, if adenine tsaka thymine yung nagko-connect, yung undergo ng complementary base pairing, they require 2 hydrogen bonds. Okay? So 2 hydrogen bonds for adenine and thymine and 3 hydrogen bonds for cytosine and guanine. That's why whenever we do yung pag-denature ng DNA, medyo mahirap, no, or mas matagal i-denature itong DNA with a lot of cytosine guanine pairing, considering that they have a stronger bond kasi tatlo yung kanilang hydrogen bonds. Okay? So that is the secondary structure. Okay, so take note of the partnering or the complementary base pairing, no, ng mga purine tsaka pyrimidine. Next is we go to the tertiary structure. Yung tertiary structure naman, of course, it refers to the folding, no, or the stacking, no. It refers to the stacking interactions refers to the stacking interactions between two polynucleotide strands. So basically, yung ating DNA structure, na double-stranded DNA structure, okay, it will start to form new, no, linkages, resulting to the formation ng tinatawag natin na double helix structure. So pag narinig natin yung term na double helix structure, okay, that's basically referring to, okay, the tertiary structure of the DNA. And there are several conformations for that. No? Sa katunayan, we have three. Okay, we have three conformations for the tertiary structure. Okay, first, okay, yung tinatawag natin na B, okay, the B DNA. We have the A DNA, okay, and we have the Z DNA. Okay, so yung B DNA, ito yung common na form. Okay, this is the common form. Okay, and this is the form with a lot of wide major grooves. Okay, so it has a lot of wide, okay, major grooves. Okay, and because of the size of the grooves, it makes them accessible to proteins. Okay, wide major grooves accessible to proteins. Okay. So of course, no, this conformation of the DNA is functional. Okay? Functional yung mga grooves niya kasi accessible siya sa protein. Okay? Now, the A-DNA naman, okay, this is the form that is usually occurring under dehydrating conditions. Okay? So this forms under dehydrating conditions. Okay, and finally, yung zDNA, this is the form, no, that occurs, okay, under high salt concentrations. So of course, no, yung aDNA natin tsaka zDNA, okay, yung kanilang grooves are no longer functional because they are no longer accessible to proteins. Okay, so that is the tertiary, okay, the tertiary structure of the DNA. Okay, and finally, the quaternary structure of the DNA refers to the interaction of the DNA strand with other molecules. Okay, so ano yung mga molecules na to? Yung ating DNA strand, it could interact with proteins, it could interact with nucleosomes. Okay? So forming, for example, yung ating chromosome, yung ating chromatin. Kasi 'di ba yung chromosome, for example, it's a very long, no, DNA strand, no, that is usually attached to histones, yung mga proteins. Minsan, no, they are also entangled around, no, nucleosomes. So yung tawag natin sa structure na to is the quaternary structure. Okay, so interaction of the strands with other molecules. So again, sino-sino yung mga possible molecules na to? We have proteins, okay? Specifically yung mga histones, no, to form our chromatin, and nucleosomes. Okay, so that's it, no? Yan lang yung mga basic, no, basic concept. Kasi as we go along with the topic, baka gamitin kayo mga term na secondary structure, nucleotide, nucleoside, no? So or at least naiintindihan natin or we are familiar with them. Okay? Now, saglit lang, no? Segue ko na lang din. Of course, kung merong DNA, we have the RNA. Okay, so let's just recall, ano ba yung mga basic differences ng dalawa? Okay, basic differences ng DNA versus RNA. Okay, so I think, no, we already knew, no, kung ano yung nature ng ating DNA. So just a few things, no, to remember about RNA. Number one, RNA is less stable, no? Relatively less stable as compared to DNA because of structural differences then. Okay? And of course, alam naman natin no, na yung ating RNA is just single-stranded. No? And because it is single-stranded, okay, when it makes a secondary structure, yung kanyang secondary structure is basically a result of para siyang ano, it's a result of localized pairing, no? The secondary structure, okay, secondary structure is a result of localized, okay, pairing when the strand folds on itself. So because of this folding, no, of the strand on itself, nagkakaroon ng formation ng loop or ng yung RNA loop. Kasi basically single strand lang siya. So if one nucleotide here made a connection with another nucleotide dito, so ito magiging loop yan siya because of the connection. Okay? So that's RNA. Okay? And of course, no, isa pinaka-importante, no, na yung ating RNA is that it has uracil, okay, instead of thymine. Yeah. Okay? So far yan lang naman no yung mga basics natin for molecular bio. Anyway, hindi ko na I won't elaborate any further yung ating steps no in the central dogma of molecular biology. But for that no yung central dogma, okay? Think alam lang natin no yung ibig sabihin ng terms na ito. Okay? So first, meron tayong tinatawag na DNA replication. Okay? Siyempre, this process is essential in order for our cells to replicate. Kasi remember, in preparation to mitosis, no, para bago mag-divide yung ating mga cells, they also have to double up everything, including the number of DNA. So that is done through the process of DNA replication. And DNA replication, if we are to connect that with the cell cycle, this specifically happening during the S phase, the S phase of the cell cycle. Okay? Basically, dito niya dinodoble yung kanyang DNA. And it has to be an exact copy of its original DNA. Okay? That's why along the cell cycle, meron tayong tinatawag na mga checkpoints. Okay? And these checkpoints are essential because you cannot proceed with the next step of the cycle unless there is something wrong with the preceding process. So for example, in DNA replication, yung sabi ko nga, it has to be 100% similar with the original DNA present in the cell. So paano to nangyayari? Dapat number one, the complementary base pairing should be on point. Ibig sabihin, pag merong adenine, dapat yung partner thymine. Pag may cytosine, yung partner guanine. Hindi pwedeng magkamali doon. Okay? Kasi remember guys, pag isang nucleotide lang yung nag-iba, it will result to a different protein. Doon nangyayari yung ating mga mutations and the like. Okay? So that's why merong cell cycle kasi merong checkpoints rather along the cell cycle kasi whenever a particular process is defective, a particular cell is defective, it has to be eliminated through the process of apoptosis. You cannot afford to let a defective cell to replicate kasi usually doon nagki-kick in yung tinatawag na cancer. Okay? So yan siya. Now, so DNA replication basically that's DNA copied to DNA. Yeah. Okay? Then we also have another process yung tinatawag natin na transcription. Okay? So pag sinabi naman nating transcription, parang kinokopya mo yung information na nakalagay sa DNA strand. So transcription is a process that is still happening within the nucleus of our cell. Okay? This is when DNA, okay, the information in the DNA is being coded into a messenger RNA. Okay? So that is transcription. So that is still happening inside the nucleus. And this messenger RNA, so sobrang obvious, it now carries the information, no, of our DNA, of our genome. The messenger RNA will go out of the nuclear pores, okay? Tas lalabas na siya into the cytoplasm, wherein it will come in contact with our ribosomes. Tas dito na mangyayari yung process na translation. So pag sinabi nating translation, basically yung information, no, na dala-dala ng messenger RNA, this will be used, no, in order for proteins, no, to be made. Okay? So yan yung central dogma of molecular biology. Okay? So DNA replication, transcription, translation. Pag DNA replication, DNA copied into another DNA. Pag transcription, DNA to messenger RNA. Pag translation, messenger RNA to proteins. Okay? So ito yung emphasize ko ulit na pag nagkaroon ng pagkakamali dito sa DNA replication na step, let's say mali yung pairing ng mga complementary base pairs. Pag hindi siya complementary, for example, tas hindi siya nakita sa checkpoint, siyempre yung kokopyahin na information ng messenger RNA will be different, and eventually, no, the proteins, no, that will be formed will also be different. So ganun guys, ka-essential na dapat 100% accurate itong mga processes na ito. Okay? Of course, I'm sure, no, na narinig na din natin yung term na reverse, okay? Reverse transcription. Okay? So if transcription is from DNA to RNA, yung reverse transcription obviously is from RNA to DNA. Okay? So yung RNA, gagamitin mo na template in order for a DNA strand to be formed. And usually itong reverse transcription na process, this is being harbored, no, by certain infectious agents, especially yung mga viruses, no? Pointing out, no, itong ating HIV virus, for example, wherein meron siyang reverse transcriptase. So because of that, ano yung kaya niyang gawin? Kaya niyang gamitin, no, yung kanyang reverse transcriptase in order for its RNA, no, to be converted, no, into DNA. Basically hindi siya kino-convert, but a new DNA, no, a new DNA strand is made out of the RNA of the virus. Tas itong DNA na ito, no, it will be inserted into the host DNA. Okay? So basically, matatawag na natin ito na viral DNA. And this viral DNA, as the cell replicates its own DNA, nare-replicate din itong viral DNA na ito. So that's the ano kasi, no, the mechanism of viruses, no, whenever they are replicating, they are using the machinery of the cell in order for their proteins to be in order for their genome to be replicated, and until proteins, no, their proteins to be made. Tapos gagawa ng bagong virus. Okay? So yan yung reverse transcription, RNA to DNA. Okay? So yeah. So that's it, no? Those are the steps, no, for the central dogma of molecular biology. Again, ulitin ko, yung DNA replication and transcription, these are processes happening inside the nucleus of the cell. Translation is a process that happens in the cytoplasm, specifically in the ribosome. Kasi ito yung protein synthesis center, no, ng ating cell. Okay? Now, let us proceed, okay, with our notes for molecular biology. So I only emphasize, no, yung more on the procedure. Kasi guys, one thing na na-notice ko sa ASCP exam, no, when I took it, procedural yung mga tanong. So lamang talaga yung may hospital experience, lamang talaga yung may laboratory experience when you take the ASCP exam. Kasi most of the questions are, you are given results and you are asked what to do next. You are given a problematic situation and you are asked how to make a remedy, or how to resolve it. Most of the questions are like those, no? Tas merong mga basic, no, paunti-unti. Pero majority talaga is based on bench work, no? So lamang talaga if you are a working medical technologist. That's why as we go along now with our review, no, for the new cycle, I will be emphasizing more, no, of what is really done, no, inside the laboratory, kasi yun yung bulk talaga ng exam. Okay? So here, these are only terms, no, a few terms that are essential, no, when a molecular biology or a molecular technique is done. So number one, no, meron tayong tinatawag, of course, na DNA polymerase. No? So it is an enzyme, okay, that catalyzes DNA replication in the 5' to 3' direction. So this one is very important. Okay, kasi pwede tayong tanungin, ano daw yung direction, no, of DNA replication, so that that is always starting from the 5' end of the strand to the 3' end. And this replication is being done by DNA polymerase. Okay? DNA polymerase. Okay? Now, of course, no, in choosing this particular polymerase, isa sa pinaka-importanting consideration, no, is it has to be heat stable, no? It must be heat stable. Kasi kung titingnan natin yung ating PCR na procedure, it involves sudden temperature changes for a short period of time. No, in a minute, the sample will be exposed at 95 degrees Celsius. The next minute, it will be exposed to 55 degrees Celsius. So there are sudden temperature changes. And itong ating DNA polymerase, it must be able to withstand itong drastic condition na ito. That's why the most commonly used polymerase, yung tinatawag natin na Taq polymerase, yan yung ginagamit. Okay, because this Taq polymerase is actually derived, no, from an Archaeobacterium. Okay, yung pangalan ng bacteria na yan is Thermus aquaticus. Okay, derived from Thermus aquaticus. Okay. Then, next, another enzyme which copy a template strand of DNA into RNA. Okay? So DNA daw, kinokopya, ginagawang RNA. So this is our DNA dependent. Okay? DNA dependent RNA polymerase. Okay? So DNA dependent RNA polymerase. So, actually tayo mga eukaryotes, kasi tayong mga tao, yung mga cell natin are eukaryotic cells, 'di ba? Kasi meron siyang intact na nuclear membrane, or yung ating nucleus is enclosed, no, by a nuclear membrane. So, meron tayong tatlong uri actually, no, ng polymerase. Okay? So, what are they? Tatlong uri ng RNA polymerase rather. So, we have Pol 1, 2, and 3. No? So, we have Pol 1, 2, and 3. So, take note lang natin guys, no, na yung Pol 1 tsaka yung Pol 3, okay, they are the ones synthesizing non-coding RNA. So, they synthesize non-coding RNA. Okay, pag sinabi nating non-coding RNA, ibig sabihin, it won't be used, no, any further, no, along the processes of the central dogma. Okay? And yung Pol 2 or yung polymerase 2, okay, ito naman yung nagsisynthesize ng coding, okay, RNA. So pag sinabi nating coding RNA, sino ba yung RNA na ginagamit yung kanyang information para gawing proteins? Mention ko yan kanina, no? Synthesize mRNA. Yan, yung messenger RNA. Yan yung kanyang sinisynthesize. So that's polymerase 2. Okay? Next, copy a template strand of RNA, no? Kinokopya niya naman yung template strand of RNA into another RNA. So that is RNA, usually RNA dependent RNA polymerase. RNA dependent RNA polymerase. Next, we have catalyzes formation of phosphodiester bonds between nucleotides. Okay, so this is your DNA ligase. Okay, DNA ligase. So itong DNA ligase, although DNA ligase yung pangalan niya, but it could actually act both on RNA and DNA. Okay, so pwede din siyang mag-connect ng nucleotide sequences dun sa ating RNA. Okay, next, cleave the sugar phosphate bonds within a strand of DNA, generating either blunt ends or 5' to 3' overhang. Ito yung mga tinatawag natin na endonucleases or endonuclease. Okay, anyway, ano ba itong ano? Usually ito guys, yung endonuclease, this is particularly important sa tinatawag natin na yung restriction fragment length polymorphism, wherein we are looking for a specific DNA sequence, for example, na i-amplify natin or gagamitin natin in the analysis. Okay? So pag sinabi nating endonuclease, no, kung sisimplihan natin, para siyang gunting, no, na kinakat niya yung DNA strand at specific locations. So meron tayong dalawang uri ng endonuclease, and because of this type of endonuclease, merong nakakapaggawa ng blunt ends. Pag sinabi nating blunt ends, ito siya. Ito yun. Yeah. For example, okay, di ba yung ating DNA is complementary base pairing yan, tas dalawa, double-stranded, merong complementary base pairing, tas anti-parallel. Yun yung tatlo na terms na associated with the nature of our DNA. So pag sinabi natin complementary base pairing, yun yung sinabi ko kanina na dapat yung adenine, partner niya parati si thymine, yung cytosine, partner niya parati si guanine. Tapos another term na mention ko is anti-parallel. So pag sinabing anti-parallel, if one strand is going from a 5' to 3' direction, the other strand should be on the opposite direction. So dapat 3' to 5' naman yung isa. Okay? So for example, no, 5', so let's say GAA TTC. So this is 3'. Siyempre yung ano yung complementary strand niya? Dapat naka 3' to 5' direction. Tapos dito tayo magsusulat starting from the 5'. Kasi nga yung ating DNA, it always grow from a 5' to 3' direction. So C, so siyempre yung partner niya G, ito A, this is A, adenine, thymine, cytosine. For example, ganyan. Okay? So meron tayong isang uri ng endonuclease that will cut the DNA strand asymmetrically. Ibig sabihin, for example, ito yung endonuclease, dito siya magkakat. For example, yan. Tapos yung isa dito siya magkakat. So parang ganyan yung magiging way niya ng paggupit ng DNA strand. So pag ganyan siya guys, na asymmetric yung the way of cutting, this could result to the formation of the overhangs, yung tinatawag natin minsan na sticky ends, meron siyang tinatawag na sticky ends or meron siyang overhangs. So kung kukunin na natin to, meron tayong dalawa, merong 5' overhang and merong 3' overhang. Okay? So for example, ito na-cut na siya. So magiging ganito na siya. AATTCG, ganyan siya. Then this is the 5' overhang. Kasi yung kanyang nakahang na nucleotide na natitira is in the 5' end. Okay? So this is now your 5' overhang. Okay? Then yung isa is GCTTAA. Yan. Ito naman yung ating 3' overhang. Yan. Or tinatawag sila again na sticky ends. Okay? So this happens when the endonuclease cut the DNA strand in an asymmetric direction. Okay? While yung tinatawag natin na blunt ends, pag blunt ends naman, symmetrical yung pag-cut. So for example, 5', let's say, bagong example, let's say CCC, GGG, for example, 3', Yung nasa baba, of course, 3' to 5' yan. Dito tayo magsisimula. CCC. Yan. So if your endonuclease cut the DNA in this manner, yung mafo-form natin are the blunt ends. Okay? Blunt ends. So yan yung dalawang endonuclease. Okay? So nakadepende yan talaga sa uri ng endonuclease. Napakaraming pangalan. Merong EcoRI, no? Napakaraming pangalan ng endonuclease. EcoRI, merong SMAL, parang mga code, no? And each of them, no, meron silang iba't ibang way, no, of cutting, no, the DNA strand. Okay? So yan siya. Now, kung merong endonuclease which cuts the DNA, no, parang in the middle, no, of the strand, meron tayong tinatawag naman na kinakat niya yung sa dulo lang, no? So it removes nucleotides from ends of single-stranded DNA. Ito naman yung tinatawag natin na exonuclease. And since sa dulo lang yung kinukuha niya, so basically this would result to the formation of blunt ends. Kasi sa dulo lang hindi siya magiging asymmetric. So nakakabuo tayo ng blunt ends. Okay? So usually itong mga blunt ends na ito, no, this results to the formation of blunt ends. So these blunt ends are being used, no, for to create this exonuclease rather are being used to create blunt ends na ginagamit, no, for mga molecular cloning na processes. Okay? Next, we have RNA-dependent DNA polymerase. It uses a hairpin formation on the end of the newly synthesized DNA strand to prime synthesis of the complementary DNA strand. Ito yung tinatawag natin na reverse transcriptase. Okay? Reverse transcriptase. So it's an RNA-dependent DNA polymerase. Bakit siya tinawag na RNA-dependent? Kasi yung template niya, RNA. Okay? Tapos gagawa siya ng DNA. Okay? So, then the resulting DNA, yung nabubuong DNA, may ganito siyang structure. Drawing ko siya ulit para maintindihan itong hairpin na mention. Na itong hairpin na ito, may parang ganito siya. Ganyan. So example, this is the RNA. So the RNA will be used as a template, no? Template, no, for the DNA to be formed. So the DNA that is formed, may parang hairpin sa dulo. Okay? Tapos yung hairpin na yan yung gagamitin mismo as a primer. So basically, this one serves as a primer para makabuo ng bagong DNA strand. Tapos magiging double na yung DNA strand. No? So take note lang, no? Yung purpose ng hairpin na yan, it serves as a primer for a new DNA strand to be formed. Okay? So characteristic yan ng reverse transcriptase. No? Gumagawa siya ng ganyan. Okay? Next, we have short sequences of DNA that will hybridize to a target and direct polymerases to the target sequence to be copied by the polymerase. Okay, so ito yung mga tinatawag natin na primers. Okay, so yung mga primers natin, these are short, no, short nucleotide sequences, no. So that's why minsan tinatawag sila na oligodeoxynucleotides. Okay, oligo. Kasi pag narinig natin yung term na oligo, ibig sabihin maikli or konti, di ba? So, usually kasi yung mga primers, they are only made up of 15 to 30 base pairs, no? Or bases rather. Okay, 15 to 30 bases. Okay? So, guys, pakilagyan na yan ng star, no? Isa yan sa mga recent na recall question, no, ng isang kasama natin, no, sa Cerebro. Yung tanong sa kanyang ASCP exam, ilan daw yung primers, no? Ilan daw yung primers na ginagamit sa PCR. Okay? So, meron lang naman kasi dalawang uri. Napakaraming primers, syempre, kasi you have to supply a lot of primers as part of the reagents, no? Pag gumawa ng PCR. But I think, no, yung tanong sa yung question is asking for the type of primer. And there are only two types, the forward and the reverse. Okay? That's why nakalagay dyan, primer pairs. Pag yung pair ba, ilan? Dalawa lang naman, di ba? Okay? So meron tayong forward tsaka reverse primer. Bakit kailangang merong forward tsaka reverse primer? Because again, our DNA is anti-parallel. And it must always grow from 5' to 3' direction. Okay? So meron kang primer na mag-a-attach dun sa 5' end of one DNA and another primer na mag-a-attach pa rin no, sa 5' end. Kasi it has to ensure no, kailangan niyang i-follow no, yung mga rules na yon no, when it comes to DNA replication. So forward, no? Forward tsaka reverse primer. Tuturo ko yan mamaya. May picture tayo dyan. Okay? Now, another important consideration here is that they must have similar melting temperatures. No? Itong mga primer na ito. Because the melting temperature could actually affect the stringency no, ng ating molecular technique. Now, if the melting temperature is too high, it results to improper hybridization. Okay? Or hybridization, no? Medyo confusing yung term, pero ito kasi yung term sa libro. Yung term niya is hybridization. Ibig sabihin, parang it hybridizes, even though hindi pa kailangan, no? Or it hybridizes inappropriately. Okay? And because of that, it results to a false positive reaction. Okay? False positive reaction if the melting temperature of the primer is too high. Now, if the melting temperature is too low naman, no, sobrang mababa, no, it results naman to a failure of hybridization, no, or lack of hybridization. Pag sinabi natin na hybridization, ito yung pagdikit, no, yung pagdikit ng primer sa template DNA. And that is a very important process in PCR kasi pag hindi yan nangyari, the PCR will basically not proceed. Okay? So, yung lack of hybridization naman, of course, kasi walang hybridization, it results to a false negative reaction. Okay? And lastly, no, meron tayong tinatawag na probes. Okay? Probes. So, yung primer tsaka probe, medyo nako-confuse yan paminsan-minsan. Kasi parang pareho yung ginagawa nila. They hybridize to a target template. Pero itong ating primer kasi, from the name itself, primer, siya yung magsisimula ng DNA replication. Sa kanya magsisimula yung DNA replication. Yung probe kasi, dumidikit siya sa target DNA template. Okay? Let's say if you want to target a particular nucleotide sequence in your sample, gumagamit ka ng probes. And usually yung probe, no, yung common na ginagamit are DNA, no, DNA probes. Okay? Sila yung common na ginagamit. And oftentimes, no, itong mga DNA probes, they are labeled. No? Dapat meron silang label kasi ito yung ating paraan, no, in order for us to know if whether hybridization really happened or not. Okay? Emphasize natin yan mamaya, no, especially when we discuss about yung ating quantitative PCR or real-time PCR, no, kasi merong probe doon na may label na fluorescent dye. Okay? So yan lang, no, mga important terms. Okay? Next. We now go to the molecular process. First, again, no, I've been mentioning yung tinatawag natin na hybridization. So pag sinabi natin na hybridization, any nucleic acid, no, can be detected by hybridizing a probe. Ibig sabihin, we are to subject, no, the specimen in the right temperature in order for the probe to anneal. No? Ibig sabihin, didikit siya doon sa template or target DNA strand natin. Okay? And the hybridization temperature, very important, no, is approximately 5 degrees Celsius below the melting point. Okay? 5 degrees Celsius below the melting point. So, again, no, itong mga probe, whenever they are used, no, sa molecular techniques, they have to be labeled. No? Take note, they have to be labeled with either a fluorescent dye, okay, labeled with a fluorescent dye, or a radioactive isotope. Yan. Okay? Kasi ito yung gagawin natin na signal eh. Yung fluorescent dye saka yung radioactive isotope. Ito yung magiging basis natin if whether hybridization really happened. And if whether, syempre, mangyayari yung hybridization if the target template or the target DNA is present in the sample. Pag hindi, edi walang mangyayaring hybridization. Okay? Now, complex sequences may take longer to reanneal. Especially yung mga mahahabang probes, no? So, in order for us to be able to accelerate, no, para mapabilis yung hybridization, okay? Okay ko dito to accelerate hybridization of long probes, gumagamit tayo ng mga certain reagents, no, na nilalagay din natin in our test system, no? So sino yung mga reagent na ito? We have dextran sulfate. Okay, dextran sulfate. We have polyacrylic acid. Okay, polyacrylic acid. And we also have PEG, no, or polyethylene glycol. So again, yung purpose nila, no, is in order to speed up, no, the hybridization of long probes. Okay? Next, meron tayong tinatawag na melting temperature, no? So this is the temperature at which half of a particular DNA duplex will dissociate. Okay? And again, this is usually affected, no, by the number of the GC sequence. Kasi nga yung GC, yung guanine cytosine na complementary base pairing, kanina 'di ba na mention ko, tatlo yung kanyang hydrogen bonds. So it's difficult for that to be dissociated. Okay? So we could actually calculate, no, the melting point only for the short sequences, because for the longer sequences, no, the calculation of the melting point have to factor in certain conditions such as the salt concentration, the GC content, and the base pair, no? Pag longer yung sequence, kailangan mo yung i-factor in yung salt concentration, yung GC content, the guanine cytosine content, no, of the sample, and the base pair length. But for short sequences, pwede nating i-solve, no, yung melting point, no? How do we solve for that? Okay, melting point is equal to 4 degrees Celsius times the number of GC pairs, okay, plus 2 degrees Celsius times, okay, the number of AT pairs. Yeah. Okay, and lastly, no, meron tayong tinatawag na stringency. Okay, so ano itong stringency? These are conditions that dictate how accurately and tightly a probe binds to its target sequence. Okay, so again, very important na yung probe or itong primer din, it has to be attached, no, to the template DNA. Kasi again, no, pag hindi siya naka-attach, technically hindi mangyayari yung amplification, for example, of the DNA or yung detection of the target DNA strand. So, low stringency conditions, no, we have to achieve, no? We have to achieve itong low stringency conditions because this one allow for probe binding in the presence of target sequence mismatch. So if stringency naman is too high, a probe will not bind to its target sequence. Okay? So dapat, no, makuha natin yung tamang stringency. Okay? Para at least, no, tama yung nagiging binding. Kasi pag mababa, no, pag sobrang baba ng stringency, magkakaroon ng binding kahit hindi tama yung template strand na nandun. Pag sobrang taas naman ng stringency, hindi mangyayari yung target binding. I mean, yung probe hindi siya magbabind sa kanyang target. Okay? So, yung tinatawag natin na stringency is controlled by several factors. Guys, ito yung lumabas sa aking exam. Yung tanong sa exam ko, parang, which of the following situations will result to low stringency? Parang ganun. Okay? So take note lang natin. First, the temperature of hybridization. Okay? Temperature of hybridization. Pag mababa yung temperature, okay, low temperature would result also to low stringency. Okay? Next, salt concentration. Pag mataas naman yung salt concentration, okay, it could also result to low stringency. Okay? So yung choices no sa aking exam, parang minix-mix niya. Yung parang low temperature, high salt concentration, low temperature, low salt concentration. Parang ganun yung mga choices. No? So take note lang, yung makakapagpababa ng stringency is low temperature and high salt concentration. Okay, other factors that are also affecting this includes concentration of the denaturant use, at the probe length, and the GC content. Okay? So that's it. Next. Let's go to the different molecular techniques. Okay, so first, yung preparation muna natin ng ating sample. Kasi syempre itong molecular techniques, we are getting a target DNA no, in order for us to, let's say for example, in the process of PCR, amplify natin ito. No? So, meron tayong tinatawag na extraction methods. So itong mga naka-enlist dito, these are extraction methods. Okay, so these extraction methods, the purpose of this is to isolate nucleic acid. No? So ibig sabihin DNA or RNA, depende sa kung ano talaga yung target mo. Okay, isolate nucleic acid from other cell components. Okay. So yung mga components na yun that could include, let's say, proteins, yung mga lipids, okay, while rendering the sample non-infectious. Yeah. Okay, so I have pointed out 3 methods here. First, yung silica solid phase isolation method. So in this process, yung mga nucleic acids are made to adsorb to silica at a certain pH and salt concentration. So the sample now that is being isolated is applied to a column, washed with buffer, and the DNA is eluted with water. So pag sinabi nating elution, di ba nakadikit siya sa silica? Okay? So with the use of water, we are to remove it from the silica. So itong silica or solid phase isolation method, this one is appropriate for fragmented DNA. Okay? Kasi pag hindi siya okay for a large na sample, so this is only appropriate for fragmented DNA. Okay? Next, we also have the salting out method. Okay? So in the salting out method, first we have to lyse the cells with the use of detergent. Okay? And the DNA is precipitated with alcohol, washed and dissolved in the appropriate solution. Now, paano naman natin ipiprecipitate yung protein? If DNA is precipitated with the use of alcohol, the proteins are precipitated because of the low pH and the high salt concentration. Okay, so the low pH and the high salt concentration, okay, this results to the precipitation of proteins. Okay, precipitation of proteins. That's it. Yung salting out method, this is appropriate for isolating large amounts of especially yung mga high molecular weight DNA. So appropriate for isolating large amounts of, lagay ko na lang HMW, high molecular weight DNA. Usually na ginagamit no, for southern blot na analysis. Yeah. So that's the salting out method. Next, we also have the organic method. So for the organic method, pwede tayong gumamit ng phenol, pwede tayong gumamit ng chloroform. So those are the organic solvents no na ginagamit, no, phenol and or chloroform. So it uses high salt, low pH and organic reagents. So the DNA no will be in the aqueous phase, the proteins in the interphase and the RNA in the organic phase. So let's say gumamit ka ng phenol tapos in this procedure, for example. So magkakaroon ka ng tatlong layering no sa sample mo. For example, ganyan. Tapos ito yung tinatawag natin na interface. Okay, so this is the interface. Okay, so for the basic no, the basic na organic method wherein you only use chloroform or let's say phenol. Okay, in the interface, this is where we could find the proteins. No, dito natin makikita yung proteins. Yung nasa taas always is the aqueous phase. Kasi yung ginagamit natin dito na organic solvents are more dense, no, or denser, no, rather as compared to water. So nasa baba yung organic phase. Ito yung ating organic phase. Yan. So yung aqueous phase, dito natin nakikita yung DNA. Yung sa organic phase, dito natin nakikita yung RNA. So this is for the basic no na molecular sa basic na organic technique wherein let's say you use phenol or chloroform. Okay, phenol or chloroform. Then meron tayong modification dyan, no? A modification of the organic method which makes use of guanidium thiocyanate. Now itong guanidium thiocyanate, basically, no, to make it simple, you are using this if your target is RNA. Okay, gusto mo naman ma-isolate yung RNA, so you want the RNA to be in the aqueous phase. Okay? So pag gumamit ka nito, okay, the modification no ng guanidium thiocyanate. Okay? So tatlo no, we have still no, tatlo pa rin yung layering or yung phases no. Sa interface naman, okay, dito natin makikita na yung DNA, no? The DNA is found in the interface, okay? In the aqueous phase, this is where we could find the RNA kasi ito yung target natin for this modification. And the proteins and lipids are found in the organic phase. Okay? So again, the guanidium thiocyanate modification, still it makes use of an organic solvent ha. But kumbaga gumagamit ka pa rin dyan ng chloroform plus let's say itong guanidium thiocyanate or gumagamit ka ng phenol plus itong guanidium thiocyanate. Again, we are using this if the target, no, if we are targeting no to recover large amounts or large quantities of RNA. Okay? So bakit no? Bakit guanidium thiocyanate? Because guanidium thiocyanate is able to denature protein, no? This could denature protein. And this could also separate, no? It could separate ribosomal RNA, no? It could separate ribosomal RNA from ribosomes. Eh, di ba target mo dito RNA? So as much as possible, you want your RNA yield to be high, no? So that's it, no, for the organic method. So yung organic method, similar no to that of the salting out method, it is also appropriate no to be used no if you want to recover large amount of nucleic acids. Again, no, pwede kang makarecover dito ng DNA or RNA, especially if you use the guanidium thiocyanate modification. Okay? And this is also appropriate din, no, for fragmented nucleic acids. So take note, no, for the organic method, sulat ko dito. Okay, for the organic method, pwede siyang gamitin, no, to recover, okay, large quantities. Okay, recover large quantities of nucleic acids. And similarly, pwede din siyang gamitin, no, for fragmented, or suitable din siya, no, for fragmented nucleic acids. Okay? So yeah, so that's how we prepare, no? That's how we extract our sample. Now, of course, before we subject, no, our sample for para gamitin natin, no, sa procedure, we have to assess, no, its quantity and quality. No, kasi syempre dapat ma-identify natin if whether or not merong mga contamination. Okay? So, there are several methods, no, in order for us to assess our sample. So we have spectrophotometry, fluorometry, tsaka electrophoresis. Okay? So spectrophotometry can be used, no, for to quantitate, no, itong ating concentration on the principle that adenine, no, that because of the presence of adenine residues, yung ating nucleic acids, they are able to absorb light at 260 nanometers. Okay? So, considering, no, na itong mga nucleic acids natin nag-a-absorb, no, at 260 nanometers, we could now solve for the concentration in micrograms per ml of our sample. No? So, ito naman yung formula natin for that. Okay? So, concentration in micrograms per ml is equal to the optical density niya, yung optical density niya or yung absorbance niya at 260 nanometers times, no, the dilution factor, okay, times, no, the absorptivity constant. Okay, times the absorptivity constant. And itong absorptivity constant, sulat ko na lang dito, the absorptivity constant, guys, no, for DNA, that is 50 micrograms per ml, whereas it is 40, no, for RNA, it is 40 micrograms per ml. So that's how we solve, no, for the concentration of our nucleic acid. Okay. Next, we could also make use of the spectrophotometer in order to assess, no, the purity, no, of our extracted sample. Considering na yung proteins natin, meron siyang lamang amino acids. And because of the amino acid content, no, of the protein, that is the reason why it has absorbance at 280 nanometers. Specifically, yung amino acid na nag-i-influence talaga nito is tryptophan, no, yung tryptophan. That's why may absorbance yung protein at 280 nanometer. So that's why, no, if we want to assess the purity, we could do that, no, by examining the 260-280 ratio of our sample. And the acceptable ratio for DNA para masabi natin na okay siya is 1.6, no, to 2.0. Okay, that's why nakikita ko minsan sa book din 1.8, no? Approximately 1.8, no, because that's the average of this. Okay? And for RNA naman, no, the acceptable ratio is 2.0 to 2.3. Okay? So this should be the ratio, no, for us to know if whether or not the nucleic acid is of good quality. Okay? Good quality. Okay? Now, pwede tayong gumamit, no, ng other ng ibang wavelength in order for us also to assess other sources of contamination. Kasi other than proteins, meron pang pwedeng pwedeng mag-cause din ng contamination, especially yung mga reagent na ginagamit natin in the extraction process. For example, no, we want to assess contamination sa phenol. So pwede tayong gumamit ng 270 nanometers. Bakit? Kasi yan yung absorbance peak ng phenol. If we want to, let's say, assess contamination by thiocyanate, kasi nga ginamit din natin siya no kanina, yung guanidium thiocyanate for RNA isolation, 'di ba? Pwede nating yang ma-assess at 230 nanometers. Again, bakit 270, 230? Kasi yan yung kanilang peak absorbance. So you could also get let's say you could also get the 260 270 ratio in order for you to assess the phenol contamination. You could also get the 260 230 ratio for you to assess the thiocyanate contamination. Okay? So yan siya no for spectrophotometer. Next, another method is with the use of fluorometry. Okay? So ito naman, it measures nucleic acid concentration in association with specific dyes to intact double-stranded DNA or single-stranded DNA or even RNA. Okay? And take note lang natin no, that the most common fluorescent dye used for DNA concentration measurement is the Hoechst 33258. Okay, 33258. Medyo hindi okay yung penmanship ko. Yeah. Okay. And lastly, we could make use of electrophoresis also, no, to assess the purity, no, of our sample. So specifically that is agarose gel. Okay, with the use of agarose gel electrophoresis. Okay, so high molecular weight DNA or RNA obviously will produce strong bands with low mobility. Kasi syempre, malalaki sila, no? So medyo mabagal yung kanilang mobility no in the electrophoretic medium. Okay? And pag nagkakaroon ng smearing of bands, it generally indicates no that the nucleic acids are being degraded. Kasi pag na-degrade yung nucleic acid, syempre mas nagiging maliit sila. Okay? Yung kanilang bands hindi na siya nagsismear siya, no? Nagsismear yung bands along no the electrophoresis medium. Okay? And this makes no the specimen no unacceptable for further testing no sa molecular techniques. No, pag sinabi nating downstream molecular applications, ibig sabihin for mga workups no, hindi na siya pwedeng gamitin for that. Okay? So that's it no yung assessment. I think yung pinaka-importante dito kasi naririnig ko din to sa training, especially yung mga what to call this, nagtatrabaho sa molecular lab. No, I think pinaka-importante dito yung spectro, 'di ba? Kasi tinuturo yung ratio, 'di ba? And lastly, we have appropriate samples no for molecular testing. Okay? So for this, we have preservatives and fixatives are used to maintain biological samples during collection, transport, and storage. So the common fixatives that are used includes aldehydes, okay, aldehydes, oxidizing agents, okay, protein denaturants, and cross-linking agents. And common preservatives naman na ginagamit, we have acid citrate dextrose or ACD. Okay. Of course, we have EDTA and pwede din yung heparin. Pero syempre, meron tayong mga considerations dito. Okay? Certain reagents are incompatible with some or even all molecular procedures. For example, no, if the specimen is fixed no, with the use of formalin, it will result to fragmented DNA. Okay? And there are molecular techniques na hindi pwede yung fragmented DNA. If you are using heavy metals and heparin, it may produce false negative or under-quantified PCR results. Okay? So, if solid tissues naman, they are best analyzed from fresh or frozen samples pag hindi naman kailangan yung precise morphology. Okay? And to identify no suitable sampling technique. So yung pinaka-concern kasi natin dito no sa appropriate samples na to kasi yung possibly may mga presence of inhibitors. And itong mga inhibitor, they could be inherently present sa sample. Ibig sabihin pwedeng native na sila to the sample and pwede na they were introduced no because of, let's say, the extraction process or the preparation. Okay? So so yan no. So for example no, example of the really known inhibitor is itong ating hemoglobin. Okay? That's why in the ASCP exam you really have to be careful kung ano yung tinatanong kasi may isang recall question diyan na parang ano daw yung most common cause of errors in the performance of PCR. So yung sagot natin doon is of course yung nucleic acid contamination. Pero pag parang may isang recall question din no, asking about a common inhibitor daw, no? A common inhibitor no sa PCR. So that would be hemoglobin, no? So problema talaga yung hemolysis, no? In order problema talaga yung hemolysis for that. So yan no, naka-enlist naman diyan yung mga inhibitors no, native to the sample and those inhibitors that are process related. Okay? So for the fixatives no, I think yung pinaka appropriate na fixative no would be yung alcohol, no? Usually mga alcoholic fixatives yung ginagamit no for molecular techniques. And for the preservative naman, yung pinaka recommended talaga. Kasi yung punto dito, when you choose your fixative and your preservative, as much as possible, you choose those that are highly compatible no with the molecular procedure that you are about to make, no? So syempre may mga differences din yan, no? But basically, no, yung mga alcoholic fixatives, no? Yan yung mga ginagamit. And for the preservative naman, ACD tsaka yung EDTA, no? Sila yung parang highly appropriate no yung ACD, acid citrate dextrose, tsaka yung EDTA kasi yung heparin is considered to be an inhibitor no for some molecular techniques. Okay, so itong mga inhibitor na to, bakit nagko-cause sila ng problema no dito sa ating procedure kasi they could result no to I mean yung kanilang mode of yung manner nila no, yung kanilang manner of causing inhibition, pwede nilang i-inhibit itong pwede silang mag-bind mismo doon sa nucleotide. So pag nag-bind sila sa nucleotide, syempre no, yung hybridization hindi na nangyayari. Another possible na reason kung bakit nag-i-inhibit din sila ng molecular technique is pwede na they could consume or they could chelate, for example, certain activators no or coenzymes that are needed. For example, yung magnesium. Yung magnesium kasi is this is a cofactor. Okay, yung magnesium kasi cofactor ito ng cofactor ito ng polymerase. Okay? So basically pag walang magnesium, polymerase won't work. Okay? So, yan yung ginagawa ng mga inhibitor. Either they will chelate magnesium, they will chelate certain cofactors, they will bind to the nucleotide, preventing no the molecular process to happen. Specifically yung annealing. Kasi, recall question din yan sa ASCP exam. Ano daw yung pinaka-importanting step? Ano daw yung pinaka-importanting step sa PCR? So that would be annealing kasi dito nagha-hybridize. And if hybridization will not happen, again, no, the procedure cannot proceed. Okay? If hybridization will not happen, let's say with the use of the probe, falsely hindi mo madidetect yung target DNA mo. Okay? So, yun siya no, yung ating preparation ng sample. Okay? Okay, so proceeding with the different molecular techniques. So we have here now DNA amplification by PCR. No? So of course, kung tatanungin tayo ano daw yung pinaka-principle ng PCR, of course that is DNA, no? Or target amplification. So in the process of PCR, of course, it makes use of a thermostable polymerase. Yan yung sinasabi natin kanina, that the Taq polymerase is the one being used because it is heat stable. Okay, and there are 3 steps for PCR. Isa sa mga recall question is binaliktad-baliktad yung mga steps. Ano daw yung steps sa PCR? Yun yung mga choices doon. Okay? So the first step is denaturation. So it is depicted naman dito, no, yung denaturation. Okay? So the purpose of denaturation is in order for the 2 strands of the DNA to be separated from each other. So usually that process is making use of a high temperature, that is 95 degrees Celsius. So pag ito siya, no, this is the original DNA structure, masiseparate siya into 2 strands. And yung strands na yan, no, yan usually yung gagamitin na template, no, that will be used as a template for a new DNA strand to be produced. Now, after the 95 degrees Celsius exposure, wherein na-divide na sa dalawa yung ating DNA structure, the next step is annealing. And this is where the primer will anneal to the target DNA, okay, in a sequence-specific manner. Okay? So ibig sabihin, meron tayong tinatawag na forward, tas meron tayong tinatawag na reverse primer. Okay? So yung isang primer dito siya naka-attach sa 3' end, tas yung isa naka-attach din sa 3' end of another strand. Bakit siya naka-attach sa 3' end? Kasi this primer will be used as the starting point for a new DNA strand to be formed. And again, uulitin ko, whenever a new DNA strand is formed, it always grow from a 5' to 3' direction. That's why ito nandito siya, kasi itong bagong strand na to, 5' siya. Tapos ito magiging 3'. Oh, ito siya. Ito na siya sa baba. 5', 3'. Oh, anti-parallel. The other strand also attaches to the 3' end of the other template strand. Kasi mag-grow din ito from 5' to 3' direction. Okay? So yan yung pinaka-importante, no? The most important step. Okay? Most important step in PCR is annealing. Okay? So usually nangyayari yan at temperatures approximately 65 degrees Celsius. Okay? Then again, the primer will be used as the starting point of the process of extension, or minsan tinatawag din ito na elongation. Wherein, with the help of DNA polymerase, you will start to attach individual nucleotides, still following yung tinatawag natin na complementary base pairing. So if you would notice, itong mga naka-expose na dito guys, na parang mga ganyan, mga nucleotides yan. So siyempre, pag A yan, dudugtungan yan ng polymerase ng T, ganyan, and so on, hanggang sa makabuo ng bagong template strand. So technically, ng bagong DNA strand rather. So technically, at the end of each cycle, yung PCR products na dodoble. Theoretically doubled. That's why meron tayong tinatawag guys na meron tayong tinatawag na what do you call this? Yung depende daw sa number ng cycle kung saan nagkakaroon na ng 10 folds, nagkakaroon ng 10 folds sa number ng yung DNA. Yung tinatawag natin na DNA is equals to 2n. Okay? Dito, DNA theoretically doubled. So DNA is equals to 2n. Yung n, that is the number of cycles. Okay? So itong n, this represents the number of cycles. Yan. So technically, nagkakaroon ng 10-fold, 10-fold amplification every 3.3 cycles. Okay, so 10-fold amplification every 3.3 cycles. So that can be represented as 2, 3.3 is equals to 10. Okay, so there is a 10-fold amplification for every 3.3 cycles. So let's say if nagkaroon ka ng 100 copies after cycle 7, theoretically magkakaroon ka ng 1,000 copies pagdating mo ng cycle 10. Kasi for every 3.3 cycles, nagkakaroon ng nata times 10 yung number of copies mo. That's why theoretically at the end of one PCR run, nagkakaroon tayo ng 10 to the 12, no? 10 to the 12 copies, no? 10 to the 12 copies of DNA. And itong copies na ito, tawag natin sa kanila amplicons, no? We call them amplicons. Yan. Okay? So yan lang naman, no, yung PCR. So of course, we have several modifications for that. First, yung tinatawag natin na real-time PCR. So pag sinabing real-time PCR, hindi siya ina-abbreviate na RT-PCR kasi yan yung confusing ngayon. Okay? Yung RT-PCR kasi, that is reverse transcriptase PCR. So pag real-time PCR, usually it is abbreviated as qPCR or small q, no? qPCR. Okay? So ito yung sinasabi ko kanina that makes use of a fluorescent labeled probe in order to detect the formation of the PCR amplicons during PCR. Okay? So it requires target-specific primers, tas probe, and this is usually used to detect infectious disease targets. Yung nangyayari kasi dito, kumbaga, gumagamit tayo ng dalawang let me make an illustration. Gumagamit tayo ng dalawang ng probe that is dual labeled. Ibig sabihin dalawa yung fluorescent label ng probe na yan. And kumbaga, because of these two fluorescent labels, nagkakaroon ng inhibition. So, for example, no, in the process of annealing, okay? Let's say ito yung target ito yung DNA mo na first. Tapos sa first mo na target DNA, you only have a specific target na specific portion lang talaga ng DNA na target mo. Okay? So syempre, no, in the process of annealing, ito yung primer mo. Okay? This will be your primer, didikit siya dyan kasi that will be the start of the extension process. Again, yung primer is not the same with the probe. Okay? Yung probe, yan usually yung labeled. So yung probe, siya yung didikit doon sa ating target DNA na sequence. So, example ng probe na ginagamit is yung Tacman dual probe. No? The Tacman dual labeled probe. Okay? Probe. So for example, no, and dito yung yan. So that's another fluorescent label. Kasi this is another fluorescent label. Because they are in close proximity with each other, okay, they are inhibiting each other. So wala kang makikitang signal, kumbaga. But as the extension proceeds, no, if the extension process proceeds, okay, so syempre, di ba magsa-start. So as the extension process proceeds, okay, kasi nagdadagdag ng nucleotide yung polymerase mo. Okay? Kumbaga guys, napapalayo from each other itong mga fluorescents na ito. And because they are they are moving away from each other, nagkakaroon na ng signal, no? There is now presence of signal that is previously inhibited because they are in close proximity with each other. So yung signal, yan yung dinidetect, no, for the real-time PCR, because the signal implies, no, that there are amplicons that are formed in the process. Okay? So usually again, no, the real-time PCR or the quantitative PCR, no, ginagamit to detect infectious disease targets. Usually ginagamit din siya, no, to measure, no, the efficacy of antiviral therapy and also to monitor development of drug resistance. Okay? So all of those informations naman nakalagay dyan. Yan. Okay? Next, for the reverse transcriptase, ito yung medyo kilala natin today because of COVID, di ba? So reverse transcriptase naman, basically yung ginagawa niya, okay, because this is used to detect specific RNA sequence. But first, yung gagawin mo is you have to convert the RNA sequence into a complementary DNA. Okay, so the template RNA is converted to a complementary DNA in the first step of the process, and then the PCR proceeds similarly with the usual PCR. So that's reverse transcriptase PCR. So this is abbreviated as either RT, no, RT-PCR, RT-PCR, or pwedeng small letter, no, RT-PCR. No? Those are the abbreviations. Okay? And lastly, we have multiplex PCR. So this, from the name itself, multiplex, it makes use of more than one set of primers. So multiple targets can be amplified in the same tube, thus identifying multiple targets within the same sample. So hindi lang isa yung target DNA sequence mo. For example, you have multiple target DNA sequence. And again, itong mga primers, they have to be sequence specific, di ba? Doon sa target natin. Kasi meron tayong tinatawag na complementary base pairing. So, hindi pwede na nagta-target ka ng may lamang adenine tapos yung primer mo walang lamang thymine. Parang ganun yung point. Okay? So, it has to be complementary to your target sequence. Okay? So, that is for the multiplex PCR. So, technically, it is the usual PCR that, technically, these are several PCR, no? Several usual PCR occurring simultaneously. Okay? Kasi iba-iba yung kanilang nagiging target. And you are able to do that because you are using multiple sets of primers. Okay? So yan. And ito guys, ito yung signal amplification, makailang beses na din to lumabas sa exam, but just the basic definition. Ano daw yung technique, no, that amplify the signal rather than the target? Kasi 'di ba sa polymerase chain reaction, what we are amplifying is the target. Okay? So yung tanong is ano daw yung technique, no, that amplifies the signal rather than the target? So take note lang that it is less susceptible to contamination. However, it is not as sensitive as target amplification. So that is signal amplification. No? So definition lang talaga yung lumabas sa exam. And I think I've mentioned earlier yung tinatawag natin na restriction fragment length polymorphism analysis, which makes use of restriction endonucleases. Again, itong endonucleases, these are those, no, enzymes that cut, no, the DNA at specific portions, no, depende sa uri ng endonuclease. So restriction enzymes must be used at defined conditions to ensure high specificity of recognition and cutting. Okay, so meron tayong mga endonuclease that will only cut the phosphodiester bond between C and G or between A and T. So it really depends, no, kung anong uri siya ng endonuclease. Then these fragments, no, that are produced after the process, no, can be used, no, pwede siyang isubject sa electrophoresis, and this can be used to identify between two individuals or to identify differences din, no, to determine rather identity, no, between two individuals, or to identify if there are possible differences. Okay, so yan yung restriction fragment length polymorphism. And of course, meron tayong tinatawag na blotting technique. Okay, so dito sa blotting technique, I think it's important lang na alam natin kung ano yung ina-analyze dito. So I think sobrang familiar naman, no, yung mnemonic natin dito is snowdrop, 'di ba? May ganyang mnemonic. Yan. Para tandaan natin parati na yung southern blot, yung dinidetect niya is DNA, no? Yung southern blot, dinidetect niya yung DNA. Yung northern blot naman, dinidetect niya yung RNA, no? RNA analysis siya. Tas yung western blot, that is for proteins, no? For proteins. So, isa sa mga naging recall question dito is ano daw yung ginagamit na technique, no, for the parang diagnosis of Fragile X syndrome, no? Fragile X syndrome, that is southern blot, no? Naging recall question na din yan. Okay? So for western blot, you are detecting for specific proteins. So usually yung western blot nagiging confirmatory ito, okay? Confirmatory ito. This is the standard confirmatory test, of course, for HIV. Okay? Wherein you are detecting certain proteins, no? And ito din yung standard confirmatory test. Recall question din ito for Lyme disease, no? Ito yung confirmatory test, no, for Lyme disease, no, yung Western blot. Actually pareho, no, yung algorithm ng HIV tsaka Lyme disease, kasi yung standard screening for HIV is ELISA, di ba? Tapos yung kanyang standard confirmatory is Western blot. That is similar, no, to Lyme disease. Okay? ELISA din tsaka PCR, no? So that's why tinatawag din siya na two-tiered, no, two-tiered approach. Okay? Pag nag-positive ka sa ELISA, okay, proceed ka sa Western blot. Okay? So for dito, no, for Western blot, actually this involves electrophoresis first. Okay? Kasi yung process ng electrophoresis, yan yung mag-separate nitong mga proteins, or ito yung mag-separate nitong mga DNA or RNA fragments from each other depende sa kanilang laki, no? Mag-mobilize sila along the electrophoretic medium, and they are being blotted doon sa nitrocellulose. Kaya siya tinawag na blot, no? Kaya siya tinawag na blotting technique. Okay? So for example, no, in the case of Southern blot, first you have to digest, no, yung genomic DNA first. So after the process of digestion, that would result to several fragments of DNA, and again, these resulting fragments are subjected, no, to electrophoresis in order for us to be able to analyze their size. Okay? Kasi one of the basis of electrophoresis, di ba, na migration is size. Then again, the resulting DNA fragments are blotted doon sa nitrocellulose membrane, no? Kaya siya tinawag na blotting technique. So basically the process is digestion, no? I-digest mo muna yung target mo, then you are to perform electrophoresis for that, tas ibablot mo siya doon sa membrane, no? Appropriate membrane. Okay? So again, yung Western blot, nagde-detect siya ng protein. That's why tinawag din siya na protein immunoblot. Okay? Other name ng Western blot is protein immuno, okay, blot. Okay? Okay, so I think siguro tapusin na lang natin, no? We only have one page na lang naman na for molecular biology. Okay, para we could proceed, no, with the next topic this afternoon. Okay. So nilagay ko dito, guys, yung avoiding nucleic acid contamination kasi sobrang gas-gas to na recall question in the ASCP exam. What is the most common cause, no, of error in the performance of PCR? Parang ganon, no? So that is nucleic acid contamination. So actually, no, these are really self-explanatory. These are things, no, that you have to do in order for you to avoid nucleic acid contamination. Especially those people na nagtatrabaho ngayon sa molecular biology. 'Di ba, meron tayong tinatawag na yung tinatawag natin na as part of good laboratory process. Okay? Ano yung tawag doon? Good laboratory practices, yung practice of unidirectional, no, yung unidirectional workflow, no, in combination with physical containment. So parang meron tayong model for that. That's why isa din ito sa basis, 'di ba, in the construction of the molecular biology lab, na parang nakaposition dito dapat yung reagent preparation, dito yung PCR setup, dito yung specimen processing, in order for us to be able to prevent, no, nucleic acid contamination as much as possible. Okay? So yan, no? Again, all of these are techniques, no? All of these are techniques in order to prevent, okay, nucleic acid contamination. So first, we have commingling specimens. So what are the possible sources for this? Leaky containers, no? Cross-contaminate surfaces, gloves, no? For example, you have to segregate samples known to contain high versus those that are known to contain low titer of pathogens, no? So example of samples with high titer, no, of the pathogen. Let's say for example yung mga respiratory swabs, okay? So high titer yan. So, ibig sabihin, dapat kung mga high titer specimen yan sila, high titer swabs, high titer specimen yan sila, you have to store it together with high titer specimens also. Okay? So, for example, yung low titer, let's say CSF. So, dapat you should not store yung respiratory swab, for example, with a low titer specimen such as the CSF. Kasi mako-contaminate niya yung isa. Okay? Slides may be contaminated with other tissue floaters during the preparation process. Okay? So yan, commingling specimens. Next, aerosols. No? Aerosols or splashes from positive specimens or positive control. I think nagiging problema to recently. No? May mga mga molecular lab na nakakapag-release ng mga false positive results, especially during yung kasagsagan ng COVID. Maybe because of the contamination, no? Nako-contaminate yung mga patient specimens with those na positive. Okay, so it boils down, no, sa technique talaga ng medtech, such as the proper use of the pipette, okay, yung proper sealing ng centrifuge. Okay, that's why nga isa sa part din ng laboratory na practice is dapat may naka-allot talaga na pipette, no, for a certain reagent. Hindi pwedeng ginagamit mo lang kung saan-saan, no. Next, reagent contamination, no. So aliquot reagents into daily or weekly aliquots when feasible, no. Hindi pwede na directly from the main source of the reagent dun ka kukuha for your procedure, no, kasi there's really a greater chance, no, of contaminating it. And of course, since contaminated na yung main source ng reagent mo, lahat-lahat na lang talaga ng procedure niyo contaminated na. Okay, again, ito yung sinasabi ko, no, the good laboratory practice. So we have to practice unidirectional workflow in combination with physical containment. Okay? So for example, ito yung yung model niya. Okay? So yung source ko nito is the ASCP review. Okay? So you have an area for reagent preparation. Okay? Tapos dalawa yan. Okay, merong PCR setup. Okay, PCR setup. Then there's specimen processing. Yan. Okay. Then from this, next is amplification. No, amplification and detection. Ayan. Amplification and detection. So pwede, no, from reagent, yung reagent na prepare mo diretso na dito, no, amplification and detection. And then syempre decontamination procedure, no, with the use of bleach. Okay? Bago mag-specimen processing, PCR setup. Yan yung parang unidirectional workflow na model. Pasensya na sa penmanship pa. So yan siya. Okay? Kasi pwede talagang magbigay sila ng situational questions for this. Yan. Okay, so and topical inactivation of nucleic acid contamination. So pwede tayong gumamit ng sodium hypochlorite solution. Okay, for the problem usually with sodium hypochlorite solution is that yung kanyang stability is affected by storage conditions, di ba? So I think it is only stable for a week, no? So you have to prepare whenever you have prepared the sodium hypochlorite solution, you have to protect it from light. That's why it's as possible it has to be prepared fresh, no, daily. Okay? So also pwede din tayong gumamit ng nandiyan, no, yung ultraviolet lights natin. Okay? The ultraviolet lights, but this is only effective for small amounts of nucleic acid. So small amounts of nucleic acid parang nasa less than 100 effective for small amounts of nucleic acid. Okay, so nasa less than 100 picograms. Okay, picograms. And okay, so whenever you are setting up itong ultraviolet light, it must be 2 feet, it must be within 2 feet from the work surface. Again, the ultraviolet light, it must be within 2 feet. Dito ko na lang ilagay 2 feet. Sorry. Effective for small amount, and it must be within 2 feet from 2 feet of the work surface. Okay? So, syempre since UV, you are making use of a UV lamp, and you have to check it periodically in order for you to ensure na proper yung intensity ng UV light na binibigay niya or gini-give out niya. And syempre, since UV light yan, you have to, as a medtech, you have to protect yourself, your eyes, and especially your eyes and your skin from this. And ito, yung sinabi ko kanina that you have to dedicate certain equipment for a certain agent, for example, and specialized consumables. So use separate pipettes for reagents, samples, and PCR products, or if possible, use aerosol-resistant pipette tips. Okay? Kasi pwedeng mag-aerosolize, makontaminate yung ibang sample, nag-positive lahat ng isang run yun ng COVID ng mga specimen, nag-positive lahat yun pala na contaminate. Okay? And I think last, for molecular bio, we have genetic anomalies. Some of the concepts for molecular biology, in-inject ko siya sa ibang subject, especially if that technique is specific for hema, let's say specific siya for immunosero, so dun ko siya nilagay sa mga topics na yun. Okay, so meron tayong dalawang terms dyan. First, we have polymorphism, and the other one is mutation. Okay, yung degree lang naman yung pinagkaiba ng dalawa. Yung polymorphism, this is a genetic change that is not deleterious and is present in at least 1% of the population. Okay, so this polymorphism may consist of a single or multiple alternative nucleotide at a locus. Guys, yung polymorphism, technically, natural talaga to na nangyayari sa atin. Ito yung pinaka-reason kung bakit meron tayong mga several blood group systems, meron tayong iba't ibang uri ng histocompatibility antigens. That is because of the polymorphism that are existing sa ating mga genome. Okay? So, hindi siya deleterious, and it's common. It's really present sa ating lahat, itong polymorphism. Okay? Yung mutation, ito yung genetic change that has a deleterious outcome. So, it may result to a loss or gain of function. Buti sana kung gain of function, pero what if loss of function? So, there are several types of mutation. So, madali naman siyang tandaan, pag sinabing insertion, that is addition of at least one nucleotide base pair in the DNA sequence. Okay, pag sinabing deletion, deletion of at least one nucleotide base pair in the DNA sequence. Usually itong mga deletion insertion na ito associated to sa mga different hemoglobinopathies, especially yung pinalitan, yung instead of having glutamine, for example, nagkaroon ng valine, instead of having lysine, nagkaroon ng glutamate, may mga ganon, So it results to a different kind of hemoglobin, and sometimes the resulting hemoglobin can no longer carry oxygen. Okay, then we have a duplication. So naduduplicate yung portion of DNA resulting in multiple copies of that region in the genome. Pag inversion, reversal of the segment of a gene on a chromosome. Pag translocation, on a chromosome yung inversion parang bumaliktad siya or nag-transfer siya, but in the same chromosome. Yan yung pinagkaiba ng translocation because the segment of a chromosome, nag-interchange siya between non-homologous chromosomes. Ibig sabihin, nag-transfer talaga siya to another chromosome. So I think we need also to be familiar with these translocations kasi tinatanong to especially in hematology. Ano daw yung translocation associated with CML? Ano daw yung translocation associated with APL? No? Yung CML is chronic myelogenous leukemia, no? Yung T922 natin. Okay? Malabas yan sa exam, no? CML. Translocation from chromosome 9 to 22. Tapos APL, yung acute promyelocytic leukemia, or mas kilala natin to sa M3, no? Yung M3, APL, acute promyelocytic leukemia, that's translocation from chromosome 15 to 17. Yan. So we also have to be familiar with that. Kasi sa katunayan, guys, no? Actually ma-emphasize natin to when we go to HEMA. Itong mga translocations, itong mga genetic na aberrations or problem, ito yung nagiging basis ng WHO to classify leukemia. In the ASCP exam, I do not suggest that you study the FAB classification kasi hindi yan ginagamit in real life. Yung ginagamit is the WHO classification. That's why in the new set of notes, dyan, if you are to scan that sa HEMA, meron talaga akong table dyan, nilagay ko yung WHO na classification for leukemia. And lastly, meron tayong tinatawag na point mutation. Okay, so a point mutation is occurring when there is a single nucleotide change, insertion or deletion, which leads to, number 1, result in premature truncation of translation. Yan yung tinatawag natin na nonsense. Okay, nonsense mutation. Okay, next, lead to changes in protein sequence. Yan naman yung missense. Okay, I think we'll just have to be familiar with this. Missense mutation. Then change in the nucleic acid sequence but do not result in the production of either a stop codon or a different amino acid. Yan yung tinatawag natin na silent mutation. Okay, and caused by splicing donor or acceptor sequences, yan naman yung splice mutations. And lastly, lead to changes in the reading frame of the ribosome in the process of translation. Okay, yan yung tinatawag natin na frame shift. Okay, frame shift mutation. Okay, and usually yung frame shift mutation, this is commonly a result of insertions or deletion. Take note lang. Okay, yung frame shift mutation is commonly a result of insertions and deletions. Okay? So I think that's end. No? That's all for molecular biology. That ends our topic, no, for molecular biology. But then again, no, some of the concepts again are inserted, no, along other subjects. Okay, and if there is something that we really have to study, no, dito sa portion na to ng ating bagong manual is the talaga, no, yung procedure, especially, no, the process of preparing the specimen, no, the process of assessing nucleic acid quality and quantity, yung kanyang purity, no. Kasi again, bench work talaga, no, yung tinatanong sa ASCP exam. Okay, it's less of the diseases actually. Kasi you cannot diagnose disease naman without analyzing yung parang laboratory procedure. Okay? So I think that's all for molecular techniques. Maraming salamat.